We should be live. Okay, we are.
Hey, all
Okay,
right, there we go.
here we go. So, first of all, welcome to my first episode of this new podcast that I decided to call PodcAds, in which I interview some of the great experts of Facebook ads. I try at least, and in which I hope to also provide some value and to have some nice, genuine talk about Facebook ads, what is going on right now and what is working right now. Today I'm here with Charlie, which is one of the one of the Facebook advertiser I respect the most. I always consume your content every day about your disruptive advices and disruptive methods. I usually we will talk about this. I will talk also about also how it went with improving my performances following your advices. I also had the honor to have you on a consultation you made for me. It was amazing. It was really mind blowing. So I will ask you to introduce yourself for the very few people who don't know you yet, and so we can start with the first questions.
Yeah, hey, my name's Charlie. I've been in the Facebook ad space for a little over a decade. I've helped drive over $1 billion in revenue, and my client list is I've helped a lot of people around the world. Big brands like Nissan, Apple, and Disney, and small little mom and pop shops. I've been training people for the better part of a decade. And yeah, a lot of people think of what I have to say as fairly disruptive, and I think that's because I come from a understanding of how Facebook works, not an inference on what people think it does, and I prioritize business results rather than the marketer ego, which basically means most people disagree with what I have to do because they were poorly trained by somebody that doesn't know how Facebook works. And I'm here to help solve that as much as I can, because my biggest objective is more success and less stress, because honestly, we all deserve it.
That's great. That's great. And in fact, the first question was exactly about this. You talked about the ego, and we are going to the first question, which is what is the most important KPI right now in Facebook ads to like assess the results and understanding when something is good, when something is like sustainable for the business. And I already know the answer, but you are going to say something really not like disruptive, but someone may not like what you are going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the most important impact for me is I will look at it's hard to come down to one KPI, but I would definitely say CPA matters the most and spend. And what I'm looking at is I don't care about ROAS because that's not a real number. And I don't care about a lot of other things that most people think are important, like CPC doesn't matter on Facebook. CTR doesn't matter on Facebook. And people that think that it does are coming from an email or display or search motive. But we have to understand that the cost per inventory isn't always the same. There's a bunch of other things we can get down that road. A good CTR isn't necessarily a good thing at all. And a good ROAS might be the reason that your business is failing. There's a lot of other questions around that we can unpack later. But the reason I look at CPA is because what we're ultimately doing with Facebook ads is amplifying our business model. And if we can understand with spend how much of our overall investment into the growth of the business is coming from the Facebook platform, we can also understand then what a good relative CPA can be for Facebook across our entire business and a blended result. And ultimately what that looks like in our business might not be what Facebook says inside the dashboard, but that's okay. It's software. If it's wrong by roughly the same amount all the time. So we can come up with a target CPA for the platform that meets our business objectives. And as long as we're doing better than that blended CPA and we are below our target, we can make the decision to invest more in our growth because we have inefficiency at scale that we are not taking opportunistic advantage of. So yeah, I guess very shortly, probably spend and CPA, but understanding that attribution is sort of nonsense, but every platform has its own target. So we can go from that.
Yeah. And in fact, that comes the second question, which is try to explain better what is like the spend and why you look at spend, because I see there's a lot of confusion over there. I also had some like hard times understanding why spend and why spend matters that much. But I think I know the answer, but please tell me what is your vision about that.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we're looking at spend more than anything is because it lets us know spend is money out. Revenue is money in.
Yeah.
Ultimately, based on our costs and our revenue, we have a certain amount of resources we can invest in the growth of the business or in the sustainability of our business model. So there's only so much money we can spend. Now, very rarely is Facebook the only place we're getting traffic.
Yeah.
Most people have email going or Google search or something along those lines. And you should have a robust omni-channel environment. Even if it's not that complicated, and not complicated is probably a good thing. But what helps us understand spend is great because it says, what is the contribution to my bottom line from this channel? Now, we know a fella that runs an agency that talks a lot about contribution margin. I'm not talking about that because that's not a legitimate metric in the way that he's measuring it. That's just the next du jour thing that he's trying to cook up, at least in my opinion. What I'm talking about contribution is if I'm looking at the overall volume of conversions coming to my business, and what my spend is. Let's say I'm spending, for the purpose of this conversation, $100 a day, or €1,000 a day, or 50,000, whatever it happens to be. If I increase my spend, does my revenue go up on a projectable basis greater than the volume of spend that I've added? And now maybe that doesn't happen on day one. Maybe it happens on day 5 or day 15 or day 30, but can I project what that looks like? And ultimately, that is far more important to me than the revenue that I get from any channel, like the ROAS, because what I'm doing is saying, can I make a sustainable, simple business and then amplify the volume of it? And spend is the only way that we can really do that, because spend is really the only thing that we can control.
Yeah.
And I'm only interested in looking at metrics that I can measure and control. If I can't control an action, I'm not going to measure and try to improve it, because ultimately that's not something that I have the ability to influence. And if I can't influence and I can't control it, it's a waste of my time to try to use that as a barometer of success or as a foundation for a strategy to make the business better.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think that when you say that spend is a great metric to measure and to look at, I suppose you also mean which creative into our ad sets or into our structure gets the most spend, because because Facebook has like the objective to provide you more revenue, as much revenue as possible. And so the ad that has the most spend doesn't necessarily mean that it is providing you the lowest CPA, but maybe the highest AOV, maybe the most profitable clients in the future. And here comes your metric PSM that I think you are going to mention.
Sure. I mean, I'll say this, that contribution or I look at it as an investment portfolio. And where are we spending the most money? And that can be by platform, or it can be by ads within our like control campaign. Yeah. You should have a very clear idea of, if this ad gets more money, what's going to happen in my business. Yeah. And sometimes the ad that gets the most spend doesn't have the best results. In fact, one of the things I hear people complain about all the time is, why do my bad ads get so much spend? My business is doing great. If my good ads could get spent, I'd be doing better. And the honest truth is, maybe the reason your business is doing well is because your bad ads are getting spent, and that's what's driving the success of your good ads. Good ads with a great CPA that Facebook's using as a retargeting ad, or your search or your email or your organic traffic and CRM, the good ads are not sustainable because they rely on the attention that you've bought from some other ad. And sometimes your bad ads that get all the budget are the reason that your more efficient marketing channels have so much opportunity. And when you're talking about PSM, this is the metric this is the like golden ratio of growth. That is the lifetime value of a customer journey divided by the sum of the CPA and COGS for that customer. So how many times does somebody buy? What does it cost to produce those products? What does it cost to make a sale? And a lot of people will say, well, I don't know how much it costs to make a second sale or a third sale and all this stuff. Well, I say that doesn't matter. If I know the average customer buys 2.1 times and my blended CPA as a business is 40 euro, well, then I know on average, my overall CPA for that customer is 84 because it's 2.1 times my blended CPA. And I can't control if they're going to come back and buy again, but I know the average volume of transactions per customer. And I know how much the average transaction costs me. And ultimately what we're doing with ads is we are buying future cash flow at a profit we're buying revenue. With our ads, what we're really doing is buying attention to monetize. So you have to look at it as what is the lifetime value of a customer? How many purchases do they make? And how much does it cost for me to fulfill and deliver those conversions? And when you look at it like that, all of a sudden you get rid of silly things like ROAS or NCPA or any of these other things because they don't matter. What we're doing is saying, how does the average customer behave? If I know I can make money, how do I get more of those average customers? How much more money could I spend to acquire more of those customers? And if I start to look at it like that, now I'm looking at real business metrics instead of how much credit for everybody else's work can I take as a Facebook media buyer by making my ROAS look as good as possible because I'm taking credit for sales that other departments are also taking credit for. And I think that's the real difference between an ego-based marketer and somebody who is on your team to help grow your business.
Yeah, definitely. And here, I think that it comes down to two questions, which are, the first one is, you are saying correctly that ROAS is like an ego metric, and that there are also many other channels that like contribute to acquisition of the new customers. And here comes my first question, which is, how do you understand where are your like new clients coming from? The blended CPA, how do you assess that? This is the first question.
Well, let me answer that one because that one's a bit to unpack, and then we'll get to the second question and stuff. I won't remember. If you ask me 3 questions, I probably won't remember them all nearly as well. So first question, I don't know. And the honest truth is, I don't have to know. What I have to do is say, what is each tool in my toolbox doing? And then how do I take best advantage of what they do well? So I don't necessarily know if my Google search is driving me new customers or returning ones. I don't necessarily know if my email is all net new or returning. Now I can look in Klaviyo or SendLane and look to understand where that person's journey is. But if I try to control for that, what I'm ultimately doing is saying, I have a business that works. Now what I want to do is change how it works and expect that to be net positive. Instead of say, I have a business that works. How do I get a higher volume of transactions inside of my business? And my point to that is, it is your bank account doesn't care if that money is from somebody that's new or returning. And if you understand that Facebook is an amplification of my business and is generating awareness and intent, Google is monetizing intent and awareness. And both of them, by the way, are doing so in a way that is not necessarily discrete or unique to my business. You know, like when I was running New Balance, we found that at the beginning of broad targeting, when we were doing the case studies to develop advanced matching, which is the brain behind broad, 2/3 of the money we spent that were a first impression, so top of funnel for our customers, 2/3 of that money was spent on somebody that had abandoned cart on one of our competitors in the last 7 days. So our customers are in their own funnel, in their own customer journey. Customer journeys are often weeks, months, decades long. Yeah. So you can't possibly control getting somebody into the beginning of having intent or awareness about your product or service or about what you solve. What you can do is say, how do I best monetize attention? And then how do I get more of that attention so that I can have more fuel to my fire? And so in that way, I don't care where things are coming from. But when I look at spend, I can say, hey, when I'm ramping up my Google ads, what percentage of my overall conversions are repeat customers versus new? When I ramp up my Facebook ads, what percentage of my customers are new versus returning? And if there's a higher volume of newer customer, maybe my efficiency goes down, but I know what I'm doing is I'm buying a higher volume of future cash flow and revenue. So I might make the decision that that's a good investment for my business, versus I might say what I need to do is make as much money as possible everywhere. And I treat Facebook as a ROAS generation device. And ultimately what I do is I completely starve my funnel and then run out of money, even though my Facebook ROAS is getting better and better and better. Yeah. So like, that's kind of how I'm looking at that. And in Facebook, we can take a look at certain metrics like CPMs and frequency relative to other ads in our account to see, is this being used as a top of funnel ad or is this being used as a bottom of funnel ad? Because sort of the thing we didn't mention here is I'm not using audiences. Like audiences on Facebook is an obsolete technology. I'm not running somebody through my funnel because generally my funnel, my retargeting audience is primarily made up of people who are never going to buy. And I think that that's something people don't understand. Like, of all the people that have abandoned cart, of all the people that have visited your website, let's say you are one of the greatest businesses in the world and 10% of those people buy. That means 90% of the people that you're paying extra to talk to, 90% of that money that you are not using to garner the attention of people who, regardless of where they are in any business's funnel, is spent on folks that are never going to buy from you. That's really bad for business, but it makes your Facebook look good because the ROAS of that ad or that ad set might be solid, but you have no, like the opportunity cost of getting that one good ROAS transaction versus a much higher volume of transactions that come in at a CPA that you can make money on could destroy your business.
Yeah, definitely. And also here comes that something that I think you said, which is ROAS has two problems. The first is, of course, like the double attribution of multi-channel. So you don't know if that 3 ROAS comes from actually your ads or Google ads, which is something we shouldn't even worry about, because actually it's like a system that should work. It's not one that drives revenue, the other drives another kind of revenue. As you say, the attribution, the customer journey is also decades long, and you can see like 10 times my ads on Google and 10 times my ads on Facebook before deciding to buy my product. The second thing is actually that ROAS depends on luck, which is something I heard from you, and I want to actually understand what is your vision on this. So why is it based on luck? How could you understand, if there's a way, which ad is going to bring you more ROAS, considering it as like an AOV, which one drives the most, the higher AOV, and how do you move forward to reach that objective if you would have to reach that?
So I think there's two things here. First off, ROAS itself is the AOV of an attributed sale divided by the spend that we're attributing to that ad or that ad set or that campaign today or this hour or this week or this month, whatever the time window is. So one of the things we have to understand there is AOV is not controllable. Like, you might be able to influence what people spend, but you have no idea if somebody's going to come in and drop 20 euro or 2,000. Like, you have no control over that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can influence it. Like, you can run a sale, or you can try to put upsells and all that stuff. And there is an average, but that average is blended over the entire business for all transactions. And you can start to compartmentalize it and get into these smaller and smaller pieces of data that are less and less actionable to really get you the number that you're looking for. But then you're designing a report to give you data that you want, instead of looking at the business metrics to understand what the average customer does. My point to that is, you can't control what somebody spends on your store. When they click on your ad for your product, they say, well, this product costs this much, but maybe they don't buy that product. Maybe they clicked on that ad and bought something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happens all the time. So my point is, one, AOV isn't controllable. And two, it's the AOV of that attributed sale. So we know that we're not necessarily getting attribution for every sale. The tracking is not 100%. And we also know that we might have 3 or 4 channels that take credit for that sale. So then it's like, well, how much credit does every channel get? And that's an impossible problem to solve, because every customer journey is unique and different. So the numerator, the top number in that fraction, is one that we can't control and one that we cannot take actionable insight from. So that's pretty bad. Then the lower half of that is the spend, but you have no idea how much money you spent on that customer.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You could say, oh, well, today I spent 30 euro and got the average sale cost me 30 euro. Sure. But did you spend $1,000 on that customer? Did you spend 2 cents on that customer? Because you're just looking at it as an overall thing, but you have no idea how many touch points that was.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about all the other touch points on all of the other channels? Like, maybe that ROAS was so good because of an influencer 3 months ago, and then some Google search stuff, and then they saw the ad after an email campaign where you're launching a discount. Like, you have no idea of how that compares or how that works together. So you can't know spend, and you can't control or trust the AOV. So in that way, ROAS is basically one number we can't know or trust divided by another number that we can't actually ever know. And that makes for really, really bad data. There's no actionable insight. And then what you get people doing is they ask the question of, well, what ads are driving my ROAS? And I would say it's extraordinarily difficult to understand what ads are driving the sale, just in that it's very rarely the salesperson at the store at the cash register that should get credit for you making that purchase.
Definitely.
Like, if you go and buy a car, let's say it's a really high end and you're buying a car, right? Like, this is good money you're spending.
Yeah.
It's not the person that put you in the car for the test drive that made that sale for you.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
It's decades of you being in a person that's alive seeing cars. It's your friends. Like, you went in with a fair amount of intent already, but there's no way to say what does the average person see that gets them to walk into that store. So the concept of saying what gets credit is a false one. It's the wrong question that does not actually have a legitimate answer. What we can do is say, what environment can we set up that most effectively takes advantage of the universe that we live in, of the ecosystem that exists around our industry and around our products with our target customers? And that's a far more impactful question to ask. And with that, we can say, well, how much spend should go to each channel? What do we need to do with each channel? What should the blended CPA be on each channel based on the makeup of how much, if we look at each marketing channel as an employee on the factory line, how much credit or how much help does each channel get to get there? It's not which one gets credit for the sale. It's what most effectively allows us to deliver a stable result so that we can understand future cash flow and inventory needs, so that we can begin to, with confidence, invest in the growth of our business.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's a conversation that I think less than 5 people out of 100 are having when it comes to launching their Facebook ads, which is why 90% of agencies fail 90% of their clients.
Yeah.
And why most media buyers are struggling because they've been poorly trained by people that don't understand what metrics they should actually care about. And so that's the way I look at it is as a business development person, as an investment banker, how do we best set up a structure that will most confidently deliver us stable unit economics on the acquisition and monetization of attention? Now, that's a lot of syllables, but those are the questions that you should be asking yourself, right? And your job is not to get the best result. Your job is to get the most stable result and then improve upon it.
Definitely. Also, coming from your previous sentence about the customer like journey is very very long, and you can't control that, because I would also mention that many people like save your links for later, or they like send them to their parents for their birthday, so you cannot actually have a control of the whole process that your consumers follow to before buying your product. And also I wanted to come back to the like the spending topic, which is you mentioned that how much can I like increase the budget to have like the same stable results. And many or people who are watching this may also tell you, okay, but every time I increase the spend on my Facebook ads, my results get less stable, gets like the CPA gets higher, my profits get lower. So how do you come up with this like common problem? Is that a real problem? Is that like something that we see bad on Facebook, but maybe for the business is good? And how do you assess this, and how do you understand when is a good thing to do? Like if it happens, there's no problem, or if it is a problem, how can we prevent that, or how can we solve that? Is there like something that comes down to your account structure maybe, or having high quality ads? For high quality, we don't mean ads that are like well made in a professional way, because we should remember that we are on Facebook and Instagram, which is a social where people should look at the real things. They don't want to look at like professional videos for two reasons. One, because we are on Instagram and Facebook, on social media. They want to see the pictures of their friends. So this is a topic well explained by Barry. I don't know. I'm sure you know him.
Yeah, I got one of his.
Yeah, I have to. I'm getting this very soon also. Shout out to Barry. And also my second thing is the most professional maybe is your ad, the more people will understand that it is an ad. I will skip this. So coming back to my previous question, what is like that spending problem, increasing spending, which also increase the CPA?
Yeah. So first thing that I want to do is say, number one, it will not always happen that when you increase spend, the CPA goes up. I've actually seen it when you use Facebook properly, your CPA goes down when you spend more because you're getting more data into the machine, so it's getting smarter.
Yeah.
So I want to first address that, because I think some people just assume that the more they spend, the worse results are going to be. And I would say, first off, is a lower profit margin result a bad thing? You might say, well, yeah, sure. But would you rather get a 50% profit on €100, or a 10% profit on €1,000?
Yeah.
Like, there's a volume game to be done here. And if that 10% profit at €1,000 also helped you get more data into the system so that you got better at understanding how to get some of those customers to come back. And really, it's a 10% profit on €1,000, but you're improving the actual volume of customers that come back a second and third time.
Yeah.
And you're actually getting better at how to treat traffic that you get so your CPA continues to go down. Well, these are all really good things. So I want to start off with that. The second thing that I want to say is this is one reason that our account structure has to be very simple. The more complicated your account structure, the less valuable any insight could be. The less actionable any data is. If you have an algebra equation that has 3 variables and you know what 2 of them are, and you know what all 3 are, and one of them moves, but the other 2 stay the same, you have a very good idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you have 20 variables and 4 change, and then your way of solving that is to change 3 other ones, you're constantly having this mess. You're never going to know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the fewer moving parts you have, the easier it is to keep something working and to improve upon it. A simple machine will always outperform in the concept of reliability and longevity over a complex one. Like if you have a Ferrari, that's great, but it's going to break down more often than it's going to be in the shop more than it's going to be on the road with you behind the wheel. But you could have like really dumb like 80s Toyota truck and it'll go 1,000,000 miles because the machine is really simple. A Volkswagen Beetle will drive 5 million miles because the engine is easy to fix and it's really simple. The point is, the more complicated your ad account is, the less stable it will be, because not only is it more moving parts, but if you look at each moving part as an employee in your business, and Facebook's a machine learning algorithm, that means that you're spending less money to teach it.
Yeah.
And by it, I mean each individual piece. So not only are they less stable, but they're less effective and they're less projectable in their outcome. So you have a far more complicated machine that you can have far less trust in, that is far more unstable, that when something goes wrong, you also have a far more difficult time trying to assess what even happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And so with that, there's a big issue to be had. And so ultimately, to get back to the last part of increasing budgets and things breaking down, even if you have a really simple ad account,
yeah,
and you've got like one campaign with one winning ad set and maybe 1 or 2 DCTs against it, if you're not looking at how Facebook is using those ads, you can identify by going into frequency and CPMs and all of that stuff relative to understand how Facebook is using this ad in the funnel, in your funnel. And if your ads all have a daily frequency over 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and your CPMs are above the average for your industry, what that's telling you is you have bad content that people don't want to see. And the only good results you're getting are by Facebook showing that to people that are mid or bottom funnel in their own journey. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately not a scalable thing, because the more money you spend, the more Facebook users you present with bad experiences, ultimately means that you're going to see your average cost of advertising go up, because you're creating harm for Facebook's business objectives. So you're a bad business partner. And you're trying to leverage ads that Facebook is using as a mid-funnel, even if you think it's prospecting. And there are going to be people that have a better user experience and more engaging content than you to try to accomplish the same business objective. So you're ultimately saying, I have a machine where I disrespect my business partner, and I don't care about the end user, and I'm making a little bit of money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest all my profit into forcing more bad experiences and amplifying the level of disrespect that I have for my business partners, and then be shocked when your overall unit economics get worse. And these things are infinitely more important than cost caps or lookalikes or retargeting audiences or testing 1,000 ads, because all of those things are amplifying the problem. They're not simplifying the solution. And ultimately, that is why most of the people that teach complicated ad accounts, most of the people that preach retargeting and cost caps and lookalikes and Advantage Plus and selling a bunch of things are also the ones saying that advertising has got more expensive every year.
Yeah.
And it's because what they understand about Facebook is an inference on the data that they see, which is fair. That's understandable. But it's not actual known knowledge of how the system works. It's just how they're perceiving the ramifications of them doing a bad job and then extrapolating that out as this is what everybody should expect. And my pushback is that's what you should expect if you continue to do a bad job. And so there's a bit of a change there that I'd love for people to think about is instead of trying to spend as much money on Facebook to get the best ROI as you can, start to think about how can I do a better job at earning the right type of attention in a way that is stable and improves over time, so that if I do nothing, Facebook just gets better. And the better it gets, the larger my margin is on the average customer journey, meaning the more money I can spend to acquire any customer, meaning the higher my budgets can be. That's how you scale a business versus trying to hockey stick a brand and then it failing in 3 months and then them going to another agency that will also fail over and over and over again.
Definitely. Love it. Okay, so that comes also to what you're saying about like having a simple structure that gets the most data in less like places possible in order to improve the machine learning. What is your account structure? I already know the answer. Maybe not everyone watching this or hearing this is aware of what is the ideal structure, which doesn't exist. The ideal structure doesn't exist. I see you are having a lot of success with your structure, and to like give some more context, I tried your structure. It works better on accounts spending more than, like, from my experience, 300 200 euros per day. So where you can actually teach the algorithm to get more data at a large scale, so with that much budget. So I would like to know what is like your take on this, your take on the best structure for the Facebook advertising in 2023.
Yeah, so this is the structure. This is like, let's see if I can get this to work. Come on now. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just adjust my like settings here. Make this darker. There we go. Beautiful. Benefits of having a decent camera. This is the campaign structure that can get you to 50 million a year. This is one campaign. One ad set with your winning post IDs. Targeting a hero product or customer journey that you understand the unit economics of. Against that, I have 1 or 2 dynamic creative tests that are set up simply through the 3-2-2 method that are specifically designed to address liabilities that I'm projecting inside of my winning ad set. This is targeting broad. This is CBO. This is ultimately leveraging machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the scientific method to deliver me stable and projectable results that improve over time, where my ads never fatigue, my audiences never fatigue, and I'm able to improve the business after the click and after the purchase to improve my margin on the customer that ultimately allows me to spend more money in this environment. Quite literally, anything more complicated than this is going to be a liability to the stability and growth of your business. Now, not all liabilities are bad things. You can leverage those opportunities, but they should be well designed and strategized for. But I think that account structure easily is 80-90% of the contribution to the success of the businesses that I run and the clients that I've had and the students inside the Facebook Ads MBA program and Disruptor School, which is one reason why I think in the last 2-3 years, there's been several $100 million of added business revenue because of that structure that would not have come otherwise. I'm on my 4th 8 or 9 figure business towards an exit in the last 5 years. And generally, when people start to adopt this, they are able to work on the rest of their business, which dramatically improves what happens with their customer journeys and with their banking and with their finances. And ultimately, that's our number one objective, is to aid the business model. So the reason that structure works is because we have a control environment with 1 or 2 variables. And we're letting Facebook use merit of the customer experience. Basically, Facebook is saying, based on how you meet our mutual business objectives, I'm going to let you have the privilege of paying to show your content to my users. And our job is to make sure that, 1, we respect that privilege, and 2, that we set our systems up to best monetize that opportunity. And if we go in there with an agenda where we're trying to force what we want to happen, or we have a testing campaign and a scaling campaign and all these other things, we're not actually leveraging machine learning. We're not actually leveraging artificial intelligence. We're not actually leveraging the scientific method. And to be fair, the scientific method, I think we can all agree, is probably the best way of go about testing. And Facebook's machine learning and artificial intelligence is the single smartest machine using the largest amount of data that anyone has ever had in the history of humanity. And it's using it in real time to make their users have a better experience. So nothing else could do better than the system itself at optimizing their customer experience. And we know that not only because nobody else has the insight into how the Facebook is operating better than Facebook, but it's the single most successful tool at retaining attention. No social media platform there's a reason why it's number 1. And you might disagree with that, of it being the best, but nothing can compete with it and what it's done. And when you start to leverage the world's best machine by taking advantage of its brain that has more data than anything else, and your job is to respect that and take advantage of it doing the work for you, then getting better results becomes substantially easier. And that's ultimately at the core of the way that I teach stuff, and why that account structure will, in the long term, beat everything else. Now, I might give you a worse Facebook platform level result, but if that amplifies the rest of your business, who cares? Do I want a 3x? Again, do I want the 50% return on €100 or 10% on 1,000? Right? Am I looking at the ROAS of each channel and then trying to decipher it? Or am I trying to say the average customer is worth X money, they have X amount of transactions, and each one costs me a certain amount of money to buy and a certain amount of money to supply? And now all I'm doing is saying, how do I get the highest volume of whatever my business objective is, whether it's customer acquisition, profit margin, revenue growth, top line, bottom line. These are the things that we should actually be caring about. And that account structure gives you the most amount of control over delivering the most stable result. So you can spend your time working on the business instead of in the business. And that's the secret weapon for anybody that's truly built anything larger than the immediate opportunity they have in front of them.
Love it, love it. And also, here comes my question about this. When is the right time to move like your winners in the DCTs to the like post IDs winners ad set? What is your process with that? Because I suppose that you will have also great results on the testing because of course Facebook is designed to that, and you designed that campaign structure to get most results also on the testing. But when is the right time to like move the winners to that winner ad set without like wasting the machine learning, which has like learned what is the best combination for you in that ad set?
Yeah, I think, simply put, when you need to. I think there's this dramatic, and I would say very widespread and dramatically like just wrong thinking that a creative test exists to give you a winning ad. A creative test exists. I would like to challenge that. I would say a creative test job is to improve the suite of assets, the investment opportunities that Facebook can make on your behalf to use your content to give users a better experience. And when that improves your market efficiencies, you should invest more into that opportunity. That means that if your creative test is successful and you have a better blended CPA across your business, spend more on that campaign, on the one campaign of your winners in your dynamic creative test, until you've maximized the efficiency of Facebook. And then you've also gone to Google and and Bing and optimize your opportunities on search. And you've done landing page testing to optimize the opportunity of the traffic you bought. Until you've literally done everything you can to make your business more efficient, your creative test isn't over. It's not just to define a winning ad. It's to say, how much more volume can my business handle? How much more opportunity can I create for my money-making machine with having this as an option in my environment? So with that being said, I've had creative tests that have run for weeks or months. And the reason I end them is that ultimately I've hit a law of diminishing returns of how much more efficient I can get. And at that point, I've decided the best thing for my business is to try to solve another problem inside of my control environment by identifying another issue. It is what my control ad set that's targeting broad. Does it have too many retargeting ads? Has one of my mid-funnel ads gotten worse? And is my prospecting too high funnel? Like what do I need to do to solve that problem? I'm not necessarily going to be right, but that's why we've got, multiple tests going, 1 or 2 tests, so that we can directly try to address that problem. And if we think of it like that, then all we're doing is isolating individual variables within a control environment and investing in improving those things, letting Facebook choose where to spend based on what's best for their business objectives. And when their business objectives matches our own, then we are going to have much greater opportunities for scale and stability. And like I said, I think in my experience, out of a room full of 100, I'm the only one talking like that. I'm one of a few people talking like that. And I think, like I said, 90% of people are refusing to look at it that way. And there's a reason why 90% of people are struggling to see good results. And they think that iOS 14 was a reason that their Facebook ads were bad. And they're looking at iOS 16.5 and saying, oh, this is going to be doomed. Like, it's only going to harm you if you're doing things poorly. If you're doing things properly, the identification of the harm being done by others where they will have to pull back is only going to give you even more market opportunity to get even better. So I think these struggles that most people identify is actually an opportunity for the people that do the job well to get even better. And
Yeah,
I look
definitely.
forward to those challenges because ultimately I'm aligning my business objectives as a media buyer, as a Facebook advertiser,
Yeah,
with putting Facebook's business needs first and then making sure that their business needs being met ultimately meets my own. And when we are simpatico, success is extraordinarily difficult to not achieve.
yeah, definitely. Also, I have like the last two questions because we are going over an hour
Okay,
of
fair enough. Fair
podcast.
enough. I'll try to keep these shorter.
No, you are providing so much value, so I thank you in advance before we end the call. We end this live. You are being really helpful. I think that more people are getting like valuable tips to like improve their Facebook ads and seeing it like the right way for how it is designed for these years. With of course also iOS 14 also helped this at Facebook design a better machine which leverage on like the internal data that Facebook can collect to make your to make your targeting better with broad audiences. So to come up with this, I'm asking you. This is more of a curiosity. How do you decide like to test in the DCTs? Are you like using maybe testing concepts on the same ad set, or are you testing maybe a psychological angle as Sarah teaches us, or what is the like the thing the criterion in which you are testing in these
Yeah,
DCTs?
I look at concepts. I very much agree with Sarah, Sarah Levinger.
Yeah,
And she's a professor, by the way, in Disruptor School. You can get some of her master classes in Disruptor School, and she's got another one coming very shortly. So check that out at disruptorschool.com. Check out
it's
Sarah's
my
thing there.
wish list. It's on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wish list.
So concepts work because you have to remember that when you run Facebook ads, what you're doing is buying attention. You're not buying results. So you have to make sure the concepts, the design of your ad should be built to acquire the right type of attention. The way that you've been taught to think about targeting with audiences is the way that you should be thinking about the ads that you design. And ultimately, what type of ads that I want to run is based on looking at my control environment, that winner's ad set, and identifying which part of that mix in that portfolio, which player on the team do I want to try to improve? And that will be the most impactful way of moving the business forward.
That's great. That's great. Okay, and also the last question, which also comes down to what is your structure. So you like have this campaign, which basically you touch the less possible in order to help Facebook get results. And what would you like answer to all those people or like business owners who hire Facebook advertiser who like the ideal way of working is letting Facebook machine learning do the job, that are saying like, okay, I'm a business owner, you set up this campaign, you don't touch it like for months, weeks, why should I keep paying you? Maybe I'm the only one making this like kind of questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And the honest truth is, your job is to keep the operation so simple that it doesn't require a lot of attention and maintenance. However, that takes a long time to get that takes a long time, or not time on the ad account, but that takes a lot of dedication and expertise to get to.
Definitely.
And when it becomes simple, it's not about what's happening today. Your job, once Facebook takes you an hour a week max to manage, is to understand where the biggest opportunities are. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, somebody should be thinking about, I would challenge people to think of it like this. When I'm hiring somebody to run Facebook ads, I want to basically say, I don't have to think about it. It works. And when I want to invest more, they're able to do it. And when I want to invest less, they're able to do it in a way that I don't have to think about the management. And for those people that say, well, why am I paying this person to do nothing? I mean, that's a valid point. And to be fair, that might be true until next month. Like we saw, why am I paying anybody to do anything in January, February, March, and then April comes? And now results are terrible. But I mean, they're not terrible. They should be better than they were in July, August, and September. But when you compare them to the best months of the year and the lowest price of attention, that is January, February, and March, they look objectively bad. But if you don't have an expert at the helm that understands that that's happening and how to accommodate for it, when you see a change in the environment and you're unable to respond to it, ultimately things are going to be very bad for you. You know, that's it's something we ultimately have to keep in mind, is that our environments are going to be dynamic. They're going to change often.
Yeah.
And your job is to make it, I would say your job as a media buyer is to make it so that, in this case, so that the business owner never needs to respond to market changes. You're already ahead of that. You already know what's going to happen. You've already accommodated for the things that you know are going to occur.
Yeah.
And so basically your job is to make sure they never need to talk to you.
Yeah.
And your contribution is going to be far above and beyond whatever you're charging. Like if you're good at your job as a media buyer, you could never charge enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it is like an endless machine of profits, of revenue.
Like,
so yeah, we should look at it like that. You set up the thing that generates you more revenue. Who cares so much like time and dedication I put into it, as long as I can make it work the right way. I can make the machine work the right way, make projectable results, provide projectable results, and being able to respond to an eventual market crash, market issue, or challenge which puts your industry too in front of. So yeah, that we should look at it right now like this. So I think that we talked more than enough. I really thank you for your time and for the incredibly valuable tips and piece of information that you provide us. I hope you had a great time and you had like your space to talk about things the way you do. It was a pleasure to hear you, and I hope to stay in touch with you, and I hope people will enjoy this first episode of PodcAds, which is going to have some new interesting episodes very soon. So I really thank you very much, Charlie. Check Charlie out on Disruptor School and many other projects you are working on. If you want to like advertise yourself right now and let them know what you're doing, it's your time.
I mean, my handle is right here. It's at CT the Disruptor. It's also at Disruptor School, but go to disruptorschool.com if you want to learn more from me. Or you can type at CT the Disruptor into your preferred search engine of choice, and you will find me on literally every social media platform. And please ask questions and let me know how I can help. That's what I'm here for. I think there are a lot of people that define their value and success by their bank account and their title and ignore the massive volume of harm that their work has caused others. I would much rather define my success on how many of those that have been harmed by others I can help. And to be fair, anybody can give themselves any title they want, and my bank account is just fine. So I'll leave it at that. I think you can be somebody with integrity, especially in a space defined by its lack of integrity, and be just fine. And the more that I can help people, the better off I'm going to feel about things. And honestly, the more times I get asked these questions, the better I get at answering them, the more people I can help. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to help people. I got to get going. I got a meeting with my assistant right now. We're putting together Disrupt Your School India, and working on getting some more masterclasses. We're going to have Sarah Levenger come back and do another thing on her psychology, consumer psychology, how to build ads that convert. We've got my buddy Raul from the Netherlands, who's going to come in and teach Google search for Facebook marketers. So how to use basically ChatGPT and you're winning Facebook ads. So just a step-by-step process to build Facebook search campaigns that print money. That means you can scale your Facebook ad account. And also got my buddy Jesse behind who have built several 7- and 8-figure ad agencies on the client onboarding process. So those are the next 3 masterclasses that Disrupt Your School is coming on board with in the next 4 weeks. So that's what I'm doing right now, man. And I appreciate it. Great. By the way, for what it's worth, when I was at Shop Talk, I ran into some other big Italian marketers, and they knew and spoke highly of you, Paolo. So what it's worth, people say nice things about you when you're not around.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, I think you saw the picture I posted. I don't remember their names because I don't want to butcher them. I'm like a white dude from the suburbs in America. I'm not good at pronouncing other languages, so I'll call myself out there. That being said, let me let you go. I have to do something else. And thank you so much, man.
Definitely.
I'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much. Talk to you later also. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.